A seventh and deciding game Sunday night in Miami. We welcome you to SportsCenter from our nation's capital. I'm Scott Van Pelt. We will hear from both teams. One of tonight's stars is going to join the show. Not sure who just yet, so there's his tease. Stick around. Stephen A. Smith will join us for reaction from Boston. Tim Legler, as only Tim can do, breaking down Butler and the defense on Tatum in the fourth quarter. And that is where we begin our show, as the fourth quarter, where this back and forth game was ultimately going to be won and lost. And Jimmy Butler battling through that knee situation. A foul there, and that was key because Boston challenged it. Okay? Boston challenged that foul. That foul call stood. 7-point lead. Butler, he did so much of that. Hard reverse pivot. They led by 9 early fourth. You had to figure that Boston would make a run. Here it comes. Derek White. He was huge in the fourth. Hits 1-3. Corner three, no. But it's going to be just as effective because it's 3 the hard way. After the drive, he draws the foul, hits the bucket. And White lighting that fuse in the building. It's a 4-point game. Under 9 to go. Tatum. Bucket and the foul. Hold the phone. That's offensive, and they can't challenge. Yeah, you see, Coach, he said, what the is that? You tell me. Offensive? That left arm is out. They couldn't challenge. 3-point game, tie game. Horford hits the big 3. Under 6 to go. After they get a stop, good ball movement. It's White. He's nude in the corner. Sometimes you got to wait. It's a hard shot to hit. Not for White. Big time 3. They lead by 3. Kyle Lowry, he's been struggling so much. What an answer from a guy who has been on this big stage before. Jimmy Butler attacks. That's the bucket and the foul. It's a 4-point lead. And then with the shot clock winding down, it's Butler again. Impossible to overstate just how big he came up. And then late, 4-point game, Jaylen Brown on the attack. Initially it was called a block, but they reviewed Oladipo not inside the circle. They change it, overturn the call, an offensive foul, and the Miami Heat go into Boston after looking wretched in games 4 and 5 and force a game 7. How'd they do it? Well, you start with Jimmy Butler. Nearly a 40-point triple-double. It marked Butler's 4th 40-point game this postseason, 47 in this one. It's the most by any player in the playoffs and the most in a single postseason game in Heat history. The Heat handed the Celtics their 5th consecutive loss with a chance to book a trip to the NBA Finals, which dates back to the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals, where LeBron's Heat overcame a 3-2 deficit to bounce the Celtics in 7. 2012 meeting is the only Game 7 all-time between these two franchises. Heat 6-4 all-time in Game 7s. Celtics are a whopping 25-9. You're not going to find anybody with more Game 7 experience. They have both the most wins and the best winning percentage among teams to play Game 7s. Tim Legler is with us. And Tim, man, we've been complaining. Let's be honest. The playoffs haven't been awesome. This game was fantastic. All you want is great players to play great. Butler did. Turning point in the fourth. What do you got for me?
Yeah, this is the single greatest individual performance we've seen in the postseason. What you saw tonight out of Jimmy Butler, the circumstances, the way he played coming off that game.
Postseason.
Absolutely.
Right.
Within this postseason, without question. And this is, to me, by far the biggest possession of the game. This is after the Celtics had hit a couple of threes. You know, this is what Boston is trying to accomplish. And at all costs, they want to keep this guy right here, Marcus Smart, right? Defensive player of the year. You want to keep him on Butler. So what they're trying to do is these hard shows and have Marcus Smart get back to him. So you're going to see Strus come up here and set the screen and then peel out. And what Boston is trying to do, you've got the initial defender, you got the second defender. They want White to show, and then he's going to run out, hoping that Jimmy Butler doesn't turn the corner with a hard line drive, because if he does, you can see Marcus Smart is out of position to track this down. So he's behind the play the entire time, and then the guy that it puts pressure on is Al Horford. He's standing here watching it, but Butler gets past him so quickly that Horford can't react. This is just a great read by Butler, and it's a blown coverage by Boston because of a bad angle by Marcus Smart. That's the biggest possession of the game. And then on the other end, here's what they started doing to Jason Tatum in the fourth quarter. They just aren't going to allow him to operate one-on-one. He gets the matchup he wants. This is the guy he wants to play against, but he's not just playing against him. You got 4 defenders back there in the back line waiting. As he starts to go, Scott, watch the way they collapse on Tatum, forced to kick out 3. You get the miss. That's how they played Tatum the entire fourth quarter.
And Tucker comes up with a big rebound, some big steals. And Tim, I'm gonna call it 20 real quick because we got PJ Tucker with us right now live. We will come back to this, and I welcome PJ Tucker back to the program. PJ, welcome back to the show. It's Scott Van Pelt, man. Thanks for taking a moment to visit after just an incredible game. Look, the last 2 are struggles for you guys. You've been through this so many different times with so many different teams. Take me in your guys' locker room. The game's about to tip. It's 8:30, and you know you got to get a win. What's the sort of the vibe in the room and the belief that you had that you could get this victory, which you did?
It couldn't have been stronger, honestly. We sit in the locker room with a bunch of guys, all you guys, everybody just said, Boston, it's over. It's over. The series is over. You know, they're getting ready to play the Warriors. That's all you need. I just did this last year, having to win Game 6 and 7. It's one of those things you, as a kid, you wish for. Be able to go out there and battle for a chance to win a championship and go to the finals. It's everything. So everybody was locked in, and it was a good feeling.
It's a star league. It's a superstar league. And what Jimmy Butler did tonight, man, that's rare, special stuff. You're shaking your head. You've seen a lot. Frame for me what you saw from Jimmy tonight. How great was it?
Man, I've been seeing him do it all year, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true.
All through the playoffs, he stepped up. He's been big, just taking control. And I talked to him before the game today. I was like, hey, bro, I need 50. He looked at me and just
well, he let you down, PJ. He let you down.
No, he didn't let me down at all. That's cool. I take 47. It's all good.
3 shy is okay. But it's interesting, though, because, look, we know the knee's been bugging him, and he and, frankly, your team. I mean, people weren't saying that you guys were through because they didn't think you were any good. They just thought you were exhausted and banged up. So it was like there was sort of like a fountain of youth tonight. I mean, you guys just, you found belief, you found something. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't think it was unreasonable to doubt, but you guys had a belief that was born out of what?
Man, out of us. We've been doing it all year. We had guys out all year. We figured out a way. We've had 1 or 2 of our stars out every single game all year. And we've had G League guys. I mean, we just figured it out all year. Able to win the East, fight all year, just to get to this point. And we're all banged up. Me, Jimmy, Kyle, we just figuring it out. And, you know, we're just playing with our hearts right now, trying to give it all we got.
Last quick thought, PJ. They talk in this league about being a star in your role, and yours is so well defined. Tatum is a superstar, too, and you came up with some massive steals, some massive rebounds, some big free throws. Just the pride that you feel in your role and your ability to deliver in that role tonight. How do you explain that?
It's not a desirable thing. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to do dirty work. Nobody wants to go out there, give up their body, sacrifice everything just to get dubs. Sometimes it's not about points, rebounds, doing all the 50-50 balls, doing all the little stuff. So, JT's a great scorer. It's been a tough series all series, and, looking forward to one more.
Well, there's a reason why you're so coveted for the very specific talents you got. They were all on display tonight, PJ. Thanks for taking a minute to visit with me. Good luck on Sunday night.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, tell Draymond I said I appreciate it.
You got it. I'll let him know. I don't have his number. PJ, thank you. Draymond said, where am I going? Right there. Draymond said he thought the Celtics were going to. I'm not in charge of what Draymond said. But we did on our show say that we didn't think Miami was going to win. They did. As for the Boston perspective, it's a tie game. Actually, they had the lead in the fourth, and then what went wrong? Coach Udoka on just that.
2 things. They attacked the basket, got the free throw line. We had some poor fouls at timely, possessions in the game. Then they made timely threes, specifically late in the shot clock, where we didn't contest or get out on shooters as well as we should have. And so, throughout the game, we had our chances. We got off to a slow start. Butler was aggressive. We didn't match his intensity, but every time we got within striking distance, got it to a tie game, 2-3 points. We had some costly turnovers that they go down and score on, and felt like we were playing behind most of the time due to that.
Ime, just in the second half in general, in terms of getting Tatum going in that fourth quarter, what did you see there in terms of him, his struggles, and what can you do in Game 7 to make sure that doesn't happen, especially in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, them loading up on him, like always. And that was part of the deal, having some of the turnovers there was, them double teaming him. And either we got the passes out, got tipped, or they weren't crisp and didn't get to attack out of that. So knowing they're going to go after him, load up on him like always, that's nothing new as far as that. And just our execution, whether he was a handler or the screener, wasn't as crisp as it needed to be. And we didn't get a chance to attack the numbers behind it.
Sitting here now, Tim, just replaying that last stretch in the fourth quarter, you had a foul call that fouled Lowry out on Brown, who hadn't missed a free throw. He missed 2. And then you get the bucket and one, right, from Butler. And then you get a couple of turnovers. PJ strips Tatum. And I want to ask you about Tatum in the fourth. I believe took just 1 shot. And it wasn't because the ball wasn't in his hands. He had the ball plenty. But the Heat did a great job in doing what specifically?
He clearly was intent on not settling for his step-back 3, which he loves, because that's the shot that would have been available to him at any time.
He had Strus on him a lot.
He did, and he wanted that matchup. He was calling for that screen. He'd get Strus, but then he wanted to get to the mid-range or to the rim, and Miami was behind Strus loading up. Very similar defense to what Toronto did to Giannis Antetokounmpo the year they came back and beat the Bucks. 2 guys at the elbow, 2 guys on the lane, watching Tatum, not allowing him to get in gaps and seams. If he spins, somebody's coming in his lap. That's when Tucker got the steal. And then on the one he kicked out to Horford for the 3, they didn't get the strip, but he literally had 4 bodies around him in the lane. I still thought he could have got a shot off. He didn't feel comfortable. Instead, he kicks it out to a guy that really had no offensive flow in the game because he was in foul trouble all night. They lived with Horford taking that shot. He misses it. To me, that was the biggest exchange of the night. They played Tatum so well in the fourth quarter, but I also think he didn't get to certain spots where he could have risen up over the top and been a factor.
That Horford 3 was halfway down, man. It was what a basketball game. And look, the best thing about sports is we come here not knowing, right?
Sure.
But the other night, it was nobody. I mean,
No.
PJ's not wrong, man.
How could you?
They looked a mess.
I said to you last night, how could you make a logical argument that the Heat, after the way they looked the other night, can win this game? And I couldn't make one. So there you go.
I don't know. But
That's right.
That means we're back here Sunday, huh?
Hey, game by game is tough. I picked the Celtics to win the series. As far as I know, they still could get a 4th win, right?
I'm not saying they can't. I'm not about to predict anything.
Give the Heat all of the credit in the world. That
No
was
doubt.
absolutely one of the toughest-minded performances I have seen in a really long time.
And it started from the jump, man. That building they were ready to have a party in Boston on Friday night, and the Heat were like, nope, we're going back. And you heard Jimmy Butler. We got one more to get, and we're going to get it. Okay. Who am I to doubt you? Tim, appreciate conference that Sunday night. Jimmy Butler in games 3, 4, and 5, averaging 9 points a game. Something special was required, Herculean even, and put the team on his back, though. Butler was ready to deliver in a big moment with 47. Eric Spoelstra on his Stars performance.
We're facing a very good team. So our guys just embrace that kind of challenge and the competition that we're faced with, and then their defense, is so strong that sometimes you just need your great player, to make plays. It wasn't a matter of schematics or things like that. Jimmy just brought his competitive will tonight, and it was a will that would not let us lose.
Stephen A. Smith joins us once again from Boston. And Stephen A., if we were right all the time in our business, you and I'd go to Vegas and we get the penthouse and we just bet on games and win them all, right? But if you're going to be wrong, at least you got to see a performance like we saw from Butler tonight, and this series goes back to Miami Game 7. I just wonder, you've seen a lot of great performances. Frame for me how you feel Butler performed on this stage.
Well, I'm sitting here shell-shocked. I was absolutely stunned at the spectacular performance that Jimmy Butler had, not because I thought he wasn't capable of it if healthy. Like I told you, last game, watching these guys over the last 2 games, it felt like an infirmary. Kyle Lowry was hurt. Jimmy Butler was hurt. Strus was hurt. everywhere you looked. Oladipo was the only one that looked relatively healthy. He only had 3 points last game. You watch these guys get off the team bus. You watch these guys walk into the locker room following their Game 5 loss. They looked like they could barely walk. That's why I thought it was all but a guarantee that Boston would close them out. But somehow, some way, the medical staff of the Miami Heat looked like they deserved the MVP outside of Jimmy Butler because he was absolutely spectacular and unstoppable. He was a man amongst boys. There's no doubt about that. But let's be honest. On our worst day, we cannot assume that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum would spend the first 11 minutes of a fourth quarter taking one shot. One. Jaylen Brown scored 2 points in the entire second half. On his worst day, nobody would have ever predicted that. And so when you look at it from that perspective, the level of inefficiency, the lack of aggression, the inability to get off in any way, shape, form, or fashion is not something you anticipated would happen. Jimmy Butler dropping 47, that is the story, and it deserves to be the story. But if there's a second-tier story, it's the fact that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum were no-shows in the fourth quarter. In terms of attempts, not even makes, attempts, that's what we're talking about here. That's why we're going to have a Game 7 back in South Beach.
Yeah, Stephen A., old guys like you and me remember, the Fred Sanford walk, right? Like, literally, they got off the bus. I saw Kyle Lowry, and he's walking like Fred G. Sanford, and then they found something. And it was remarkable because we had P.J. Tucker on earlier, and no one doubts the greatness of this team if they're right, but they didn't look right in Games 4 and 5. So that's what made this so shocking. Boston's shown quite a capacity to go on the road and win, both against Milwaukee and against Miami, and they have superstar players. Predicting anything in this series is a fool's errand, but I just wonder, based on that fourth quarter in particular, what's your sense of what you think you'll see from the road team Sunday night in Miami out of Boston?
Well, listen, Game 7 is for all the marbles. We understand that. The reality of the situation is that all the pressure is on the shoulders of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They've been in Eastern Conference Finals before. How many are you going to lose? That's the question. Jimmy Butler recently got to the NBA Finals. The same can't be said about Tatum and Brown. And by the way, the East doesn't look any weaker. Giannis Antetokounmpo is expected to have a healthy Chris Middleton next season. Joel Embiid might have some help next season. Atlanta might be back in the fold next season. Boston can't count on these chances being available to them. So Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are going to be called upon to step up because I think it's fair to assume that Jimmy Butler is going to answer the call in the Game 7. And by the way, Kyle Lowry, a champion who looked like he could barely walk after the last game, shows up here and hits 4 3-pointers, gives you about 18 points, was efficient and a threat all night long. So the bottom line is this Game 7 in South Beach. I started this series saying Boston was going to win in 7. I'm going to stick to that. But I got Shaquille O'Neal bugging the living hell out of me, FaceTiming me after every quarter, telling me to call him Shaq-Adamus because he predicted that Miami was going to win this game and this series. So after I finish with you, Scott, I got to hear Shaquille O'Neal's mouth for the rest of the night because he was telling me all game long Boston was going to lose, and he ended up being right.
Tell Shaq that Van Pelt says hello, and I'm sure you got Draymond in there. Tell Draymond that P.J. Tucker said thank you. So if you got that in your plans for the next 5 or 10 minutes, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you sharing a couple minutes on SportsCenter as always. Be well. Enjoy your trip back to Miami, my man.
Well, you know I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Have a nice evening, Scott.
Indeed. Hit my guy Miles at Prime 112. Get his table for my man. All right. More reaction from the Heat after the Game 6 victory in Boston.
I think we just, we won the game. We haven't done much. We still got to go home and protect home. All we did was go out there and win a basketball game. That's all that really matters, try to win one game.
Yeah, I think we just did our job. We've been saying it this entire series. It's not finished yet. We got Game 7 at the crib, and we need to win.
Everybody counted us out. Everybody thought the series was already over, and I mean, that's all the motivation we needed.
Yes, they did. And they thought that the Heat were done, Brian Windhorst, because they played the way they did in Games 4 and 5. Now they play this way in Game 6. You saw it with your own eyes. I mean, you never are shocked in sports, I guess, because anything can happen. But you tell me your reaction to the performances you saw, particularly from Butler.
Yeah, it wasn't that the Heat weren't capable. It's just that we didn't think they were healthy enough.
Exactly.
And right out of the gate in the first quarter, before Jimmy Butler was even hitting the three-pointers, he jumped the passing lane and raced to the other end. And it was like that was more quick twitch than we saw at all in games 4 and 5. And it was like, wow, he definitely feels better. Can this keep up? Kyle Lowry was out here on this court at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock for an 8:30 start, trying to get that hamstring loosened up. They are fighting against a lot of things right now, and they just were able to get a little bit healthier. And they might get even a little bit healthier again for Sunday, because it sounds like Tyler Hero might be getting close to getting back. So, they just made shots. And I will say this, Scott, Eric Spoelstra never wavered. He sounded the same after they lost Game 4. He sounded the same after they lost Game 5. He sounded the same after tonight. He is a rock. He has been that way for a decade, and I think it rubbed off on his team, because I think that his team had a very positive approach to this game.
Yeah, look, I mean, the belief in that room is rooted in what they'd done all year, but I don't think it was unreasonable to doubt it after what we'd seen of late. Having said all that, I don't think that it's reasonable to ask you what you think will happen in Game 7, because how the hell do you know? But I'm going to ask an unreasonable question. What do you think is going to happen in Game 7?
Well, I think the biggest factor is, does Jimmy Butler have another game like this in him? His activity level was dramatically improved. And I'm not saying that the free throws were the definitive thing here. Just look at the free throws. 26 in games 1 and 2, 6 in games 3, 4, 5 combined, 11 tonight. That right there is the indication of his ability to react, to get to the basket, to get by people. Can he come back in 48 hours and have another game like that? Maybe not to score over 40 points, but where he can be that impactful. I don't know, but I was talking to somebody around the team tonight, and I was like, how did Jimmy do this? And he said part treatment and part mentality, that he sort of willed it. And that kind of sounds weird to hear somebody say they willed their knee, but we just watched it. So, the Heat have a chance. The Celtics haven't lost back-to-back games with their full roster since January. They're 6-2 on the road in these playoffs. They actually got a much better record away from here than at home. So tune in on Sunday. We'll see what happens.
Indeed. We saw a remarkable performance from Butler, and we saw Woj wander into his shot and realize he was in the shot. Tell Woj, keep your poise. Stay out of the live shots, okay? Tell him that's what me and Stanford Steve say,
It's his first day.
All right. It's day one stuff, Woj. We got a live shot. All right. Love you, buddy. Thanks. See you, Brian.